The challenge began, as most military rivalries do, over beer and bravado in a Norfolk pub near RAF Mildenhall. Lieutenant Commander Jake Hammer Morrison of SEAL Team 5 had been holding court about a recent desert operation when Royal Marine Commando Sergeant Danny Fletcher quietly mentioned that endurance, not speed, won real wars. "Your lads are fast," Fletcher said, swirling his pint. "But can they go the distance?" Morrison's jaw tightened. Within 48 hours, the challenge was set, a 30-mile Yomp across the Brecon Beacons, the Welsh mountain range that had humbled thousands of British military hopefuls. Each team would carry 50-pound burgans, navigate by map and compass, and complete the route in under 8 hours. No GPS, no support vehicles until the finish line. The Americans arrived with 6 operators from SEAL Team 5, fit and confident after months of combat rotations. They'd crushed ultramarathons, conquered Hell Week multiple times, and operated in mountains from Afghanistan to Colombia. Their gear was cutting edge, their boots the latest in tactical footwear technology. The Royal Marines brought 8 commandos from 42 Commando, including 2 men in their late 30s who looked like they'd been carved from the mountains themselves. Their kit was older, almost worn, but meticulously maintained. Fletcher's team had been running these hills since basic training, some for over 15 years. The starting line was a muddy track near Story Arms at 0600 hours, with a British Army major serving as neutral observer. Dawn hadn't yet broken, and rain hammered down in sheets that turned the beam of every headlamp into a cone of silver static. "Weather's perfect," Fletcher grinned, his weathered face barely visible under his hood. Morrison didn't smile back. He'd studied the terrain, run the calculations. His team was younger on average, faster over distance. They'd take an aggressive pace early and break the Brits before halfway. The whistle blew. The SEALs surged forward like sprinters, their powerful strides eating up the initial rolling terrain. Morrison set a brutal pace, knowing his men could handle it. Behind them, the Marines settled into something that looked almost casual, a steady rhythm that seemed too slow to be competitive. By mile 5, the Americans had opened a 15-minute lead. They crested Pen y Fan, the highest peak in South Wales, as the sun finally broke through the clouds. Morrison checked his watch and allowed himself satisfaction. They were ahead of schedule, but the mountain had other plans. The descent from Pen y Fan was treacherous, loose scree and slick grass creating a skating rink of stone. The SEALs' aggressive pace became a liability. Petty Officer Derek Collins went down hard, twisting his ankle on a hidden rock. He got up, tried to push through, but after another mile he was clearly limping. "I can make it," Collins insisted through gritted teeth. Morrison faced the decision every leader dreads: leave a man behind or slow the team. He chose loyalty over victory, dropping their pace to match Collins's hobbled gait. The 15-minute lead evaporated like morning mist. By mile 12, the Marines had caught them. Fletcher nodded as his team passed, not gloating, just acknowledging. The Commandos moved like they were part of the landscape itself, their pace unchanging whether climbing or descending. They'd learned these mountains through pain, through countless Yomps in selection, through exercises that made this challenge seem almost recreational. "Steady as she goes, lads," Fletcher called back. "Long way yet." The Americans tried to respond, pushing their pace despite Collins's injury, but the mountains were extracting their toll. What worked in the deserts of Iraq or the plains of California failed in the Brecon Beacon's unique hell. The constant elevation changes, the unpredictable ground, the weight of waterlogged gear, it all accumulated like compound interest on a debt. By mile 18, Collins couldn't continue. Morrison made the call to signal for medical extraction. The team was down to 5. The remaining SEALs pushed on, pride now fueling them more than strategy. They were America's elite, forged in Coronado's crucible. They wouldn't quit. But not quitting wasn't the same as winning. Mile 22 brought the real crucible. The terrain turned savage, a ridge walk where one wrong step meant a tumbling fall down a mountainside. Wind gusted so hard it threatened to tear Bergens from shoulders. The cold had seeped into everything, turning fingers numb, making every buckle and strap a puzzle to manipulate. Lieutenant Mason Doc Henriksen, the team's corpsman, started showing signs of hypothermia. His speech slurred slightly, his movements becoming mechanical. Morrison recognized the signs immediately. Another extraction call. Down to 4 now, with 12 miles to go and their 8-hour window rapidly closing. The Marines, meanwhile, had maintained their pace. One of their older members, Corporal Taft Williams, had taught half the team the routes through these mountains. He called out hazards before they appeared, adjusted their line to find the driest ground, conserved energy with the precision of a man who'd made every mistake possible and learned from each one. At mile 26, Morrison's own body began betraying him. His knee, damaged in a hard landing years ago and never quite right since, started grinding bone on bone. Each step became an act of will. He thought about his team, about the flag on his shoulder, about every person who'd ever doubted whether SEALs were truly the world's best. He kept moving. But 2 of his remaining teammates couldn't. Cramps seized their legs so violently they couldn't stand. Morrison faced reality. His team was spent. They'd gone hard, gone fast, and the mountains had broken them for it. The Marines crossed the finish line in 7 hours and 42 minutes, all 8 men. Together, barely winded. They'd completed the route faster than their training pace, treating the challenge like a brisk morning workout. Fletcher found Morrison an hour later, still on the course, hobbling toward the finish with his last remaining teammate. The commando had hiked back out to meet them. "No shame in it, mate," Fletcher said quietly. "These mountains don't care about your resume." Morrison wanted to argue, to defend his team's honor, but looking at Fletcher's weathered face, at the respect in his eyes that had nothing to do with the day's outcome, he understood something fundamental. The SEALs had trained for every environment, mastered every skill, become experts in rapid deployment and overwhelming force. The Marines had become part of one landscape, learned it so deeply that it became instinct rather than knowledge. Different philosophies, different strengths. And today, in these specific mountains, one had been superior to the other. "Tomorrow," Morrison said, managing a grin despite his pain, "beach landing competition. California coast. We'll see who's still standing then." Fletcher laughed and extended his hand. "You're on." They shook, 2 warriors from different nations bound by mutual respect earned through shared suffering. The competition would continue. The banter would resume. But something had shifted. They'd each learned what the other brought to the table, and in the end, that understanding might matter more than any single victory.